Hey everybody, so I'm going to go over assignment 10 for CS135. This program is going to basically be just a program to recruit stormtroopers, because let's face it, for the original trilogy, the stormtroopers could not hit anything ever. So we're going to try to help the Empire out a little bit here and be able to recruit better stormtroopers, hopefully. Anyway, in this program, we're going to have this parallel array structure because, well, we want to be able to store stormtroopers with different sorts of, so each one has a name, and then we're going to sort of mark which target each stormtrooper hit. So each stormtrooper will be assigned 10 targets, and they're going to try to fire at the target, and then either hit that target or did not hit that target. So this Boolean array over here is going to basically maintain for each target which ones were hit or not hit by a stormtrooper. And each target will have a weight. So I guess the the targets, some of them are longer range, it has a bigger weight, some of the shorter range. So hitting a sort of a longer target is more valuable than hitting a shorter target. So this array over here is going to maintain sort of for each target what its weight is going to be. And then the score is going to be the accumulated score by each stormtrooper. So basically, we compute for each target they hit. We're going to sum up the weights of the hit targets and add them all up together and maintain a scores array. So that's going to be the idea for this program. And we have to use this parallel array structure because we can't store the names, a string, a boolean, a double, all into one sort of two-dimensional array. So you have to have multiple arrays to kind of basically be able to emulate a large two-dimensional array. So let's first look at the actual picture of how this structure looks like. I'll go back to this in a second here. I'm going to go ahead and just first show this. That's basically how our structure will look like. It might be a little bit small in this video, but I will definitely post this sort of note also as well onto the Canvas site with this assignment. So anyway, let me go and scroll over here. So, and anyway, of course, size will be sort of the array size. So the size will be constant with the value of 20, and TGR targets is going to be 10. So basically what's going to happen is we're going to have array of size 20, but not all 20 elements will be used necessarily. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. So we want to have a big array with a big arbitrary amount and use only a portion of that array. Since we can't resize the array as we go, that's the only option we have. So anyway, we're going to first write a series of functions here to do this work for us. So we're going to first call read data. Read data will pass in this names array, this targets array, and it's going to pass in this target weights array. And this function is going to prompt the user for a file name, and it will try to open up a file. If it can't be opened, it will reprompt until the user enters a valid file name. Once they have a valid file name read, it's going to read the file and store the elements into the names array and targets array. This file will only consist of just the name of a stormtrooper and the sort of results for each target. Let's go to the input file that it was provided for you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up over here. And here's the first file I gave you guys. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this because it's kind of hard to see. So anyway, this will be our file. This has 15 stormtrooper data. So essentially we have 20 element array. We have 15 stormtroopers, so our array can definitely store all 15. The last 5 elements in the array will be wasted, but it's okay. We can at least accommodate for the input size. Okay, so in our file, each line consists of the following. First, a name of the stormtrooper, and then it's going to consist of, well, so missed means that the first target they missed, second target they hit, next one they hit, and so forth. So notice that these miss and hit are not really nicely cased. They're out of their capital letters, lowercase letters. You have to make sure you can, be able to read in this word, for example, miss, and be able to interpret it as the word miss. So maybe you have to use a way to kind of format that string to make sure you can interpret it. So maybe make them all caps, all lowercase. It doesn't matter how you do it as long as you're consistent with that. So what's going to happen is you're going to read one line of input, and you're going to store that into sort of, so I'm going to go to the board here. You're going to store it into this one thing. You're going to store it into this right here. So let me go ahead and actually do this and sort of show you guys what would happen. So I'm going to use a red marker here to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is, after you have the file opened, it's going to be an end of file controlled loop, but you're going to count how many rows you read as you go as well. So you have to kind of somehow be able to add a counter somehow, but that counter is only going to be there just to tell you how many lines you've read in your file. So for example here, LWA251 is the name of the first stormtrooper. So I'm going to try to fit this here. I can zoom in over here so I can actually comfortably put this over here. Sorry about this. LW A251. Like that, and I'm going to zoom out over here afterward just so I can at least fit that over here. I'm going to try to go back to where I was originally. So anyway, there we go. It's kind of hard to see it in the video, but I guess you can zoom in on this as well. But anyway, we have that. And then the first target they missed. So we're going to put a boolean, so you're going to put a false or a 0. I'll put F here for false, but it's going to be a boolean false goes over here. So that's what your program's going to essentially do. Then next time it sees the word hit, next over here is hit, it's going to put a boolean true into this position. So this part could be a counter control loop because we're going to have exactly 10 targets. So you can put a little counter control loop right here if you want, or you can hard code, it doesn't really matter, but you want to sort of be able to take these and store them into this one row in this matrix here. Let's go ahead and sort of do this next part. So then we have a hit over here, which would put a true over here. Then the last one would be a hit as well, which means also it would be a true. Fantastic. And then we go on to the next line. The next line, I'm going to go ahead and do this one. I'm not going to do every single one, but do a couple so you can get the idea over here. The next line would be, well, it's going to read in this next string, CP1083. So I'm going to try to maybe, I don't want to zoom in this, I'm going to try to write this here if I can somehow. CP1080. You know what, it's okay. 1083. It's supposed to be, I couldn't fit that all there, but it's CP1083. And then, okay, let's go ahead and read through this. So the first line, we have all of this you have to read. So we can actually do 10 reads, or we can do like, a counter control loop that runs 10 times here because it's going to have 10 targets for every stormtrooper. So the first one's going to be miss. So, okay, I'll put a false over here, meaning it's going to be a miss. Then we have a miss again. So this will be, it will put a false over here. So reading the next part, reading the word miss once again. You format that, or you don't format it, whatever you want to do with it. It's miss, so this stormtrooper is really not an upgrade from the original trilogy. This guy, or this person, is really doing a bad job so far, but this person tried at least. That's good. And then the last one, I'll just kind of skip to the end, is also a miss. So you'll do all of that. And you do that over and over again until you hit the entire end of file. In this case here, elements 0 through 14 will be actually used. Elements 15 to 19 will be wasted elements because, we allocate 20 element array and only 15 elements were used in this array. Okay, so then you're going to close the file stream, and this function over here is going to read the next file. So you have to prompt again for a different file this time for this weights file. Once again, you have to prompt them and try to open the file stream. The same idea. You prompt them for a file name. If it can't be opened, you reprompt until they finally can open the file stream. Once it's openable, you want to read the elements in the file. Now, you have a constant here called targets. There's going to be exactly this many doubles in that file. So the other file is given to you guys. I'm going to go ahead and close this one down over here. The other file given to you over here, which I'll go right over here, I believe. Okay, let me go ahead and sort of zoom in on this. It'll be this. There's 10 doubles. So let's go ahead and do this part next. So we're going to store these numbers into this array. So we did 1.5. Okay, so it's going to first put 1.5 over here. I'm trying to fit this here if I can somehow. 1.5. Okay. And then 3.5, that's going to go in over here. 3.5, then 4.41. So you're going to basically populate this array with numbers in that file. Then you're going to have 5.4 would come next, and so forth. I won't do the entire thing, but get the idea. You're going to store all those elements in this array, and then you go into close a file stream, and then this will stop this function. But the function is going to return the amount of stormtroopers read. So in the original file, there were 15 stormtroopers, 15 lines. It's going to return the number 15 at the end. Notice it's a function that returns an integer. So it's going to return 15, so in main, you're going to have a variable called maybe amount of stormtroopers or whatnot equals read data. You pass in those parameters, and it returns back a number, so you know exactly how many elements to process through when you're doing any work inside of main. Okay, now compute score function is going to basically compute, it's going to populate the scores array over here, because that read function populates these arrays, but not this scores array. So in main, what you're going to do is you're going to have a loop that's going to basically call this function compute score 15 times. So you pass in this two-dimensional array, this Boolean array over here. You pass in target weight over here. So you basically pass in this targets array. You pass in this target weights array just like that. And then you're going to pass an int, which tells you, this integer will tell you which row, which one you're currently trying to process. So for example, the first time you call this function in main, you're going to pass in the value 0 for this int. So what's going to happen here in this function, compute score, it's going to take this false, multiply it to 1.5, then true or 1, multiply it to 3.5, then true, multiply to 4.41, and so forth. It's going to add all those up. Or you can just say, well, there's many ways you can do this, but you want to basically add up the score essentially. What's going to happen is, whenever you see a true over here at sort of in this column 1, you're going to go to index 1 of target weights and add a 3.5 to some kind of running sum. So let's say, for example, column 2 in this targets array for row 0 contains a true. You're going to go over here to this index 2. It's going to basically take 4.41, add that to our current running amount. So we can see here that these guys here in blue are kind of, they kind of go together. So these get multiplied to everything over here. It's kind of hard to do. I don't want to mess this up, but we can see here they're in parallel with each other. You work together essentially. You're going to process each element like that. And the value 0, or this value right here for this integer argument you're passing in, that's going to tell you which row you're currently processing. So once you compute everything, you're going to store some value in here. I don't know what the value is. I don't know what. I think it's actually. Well, let me go. Actually, I can go ahead and just. I'll just leave it like here for now. It's actually in the sample output portion. So we have that. You also will notice that then what happens is you're going to call this function again, but now you want to go ahead and traverse through this row. So you're going to take every element of the second row. So it's false, so it's going to be 0 multiplied to 1.5 plus 0 multiplied to 3.5 plus 0 multiplied to 4.41 and so forth, and it will calculate the result and store it into this position next, and so forth. It'll do it 15 times. You're going to call this function 15 times. It returns some value, and you're going to store it into a position of this array over here. So basically, we can see here that when we actually output the data, these guys over here, they kind of go together. So we can see here that these elements kind of bind everything. So really, whatever's in sort of red right there, those I boxed in those indices, that's the first Stormtrooper's complete data. And next row, we can see here, that's going to be a next Stormtrooper data. So sorry if I overlap these. I couldn't really fit this over here like that. But so each each element here between names, targets, and scores, whatever's in red, that kind of correlates to one Stormtrooper. And then the parts in blue basically is the target data for each stormtrooper, which we use these target weights array to compute the scores. So hope that does make somewhat sense, but I will definitely post this up there along with this video. Let's go back to the file over here. So output stormtrooper, that outputs every stormtrooper we have. So basically it takes in the string array, targets array, the scores array, and it takes in the amount of stormtroopers, the total amount, so it can output each one by one. So it takes in, so this function here, it took in a particular index. This one takes in, this integer right here is going to be the entire sort of array. And then what happens here is we're going to say, well, okay, output one stormtrooper. This function outputs a single stormtrooper. So this function here outputs everything, nicely formatted. This one outputs one stormtrooper. Now the reason why we do this is because we're going to also output the top 3 stormtroopers as well at the end. So we want to make sure that we have these 2 functions over here. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of paraphrase this later on. So notice that, so basically look at the fine print over here. So we're passing in, we're passing in 1 row of booleans, but I guess you can kind of read this part here. I don't have time, I'm running out of time here on this video. So here's the portions of the main you want to follow. I didn't give you guys a main, but you can of course follow this over here. So you allocate your arrays, you call a read data function to read all your data in, you compute the scores for each one, you output all stormtroopers. You want to find the top 3 stormtroopers, so the top 3 with the highest scores. Now, you can't sort the array first, that'll be too easy. And you don't want to have 3 separate loops. You want to have 1 loop that does it all. So you may have to have several variables to constantly maintain first, second, and third, and sort of move those values around accordingly when you see a bigger value and such. So that one's kind of have to think about that. Now, if you do have 3 separate for loops, it won't be a big penalty, but a small penalty. But if you sort the array, that will be a larger penalty. That's kind of like you're making it too easy now. So that's cheating almost. So don't want to do that. So you want to find the top 3 and output the top 3 at the very end. And then of course over here, just some notes. So of course, comment your code, make sure it compiles, all that good stuff. So anyway, let's go to the sample output portion over here. Well, we prompt the user for a file name. So this part here is all being done inside of the read data function. So it's going to basically prompt the user, reprompts them once a valid file is read in. It's going to prompt or tell the user, okay, well, we were able to successfully read in the file. And over here, we prompt user for target weights sort of file. So it's going to be target weights.txt. Process it all. And then this is going to be the this gets generated by the print or output stormtroopers. Notice here it outputs the name, outputs each target, and X over here tells you that the stormtrooper, this guy hit target 2 and target 3, but missed target 4 and 5. And we output also the total number of targets that were hit. So the stormtrooper hit 6 targets, then this is the stormtrooper's score. Just like that. And then at the very end, we're going to find the top 3 stormtroopers, and we're going to call output 1 stormtrooper on this stormtrooper, on this stormtrooper, and on this stormtrooper. You call this function 3 times at the very end, just like that. So that's pretty much it. And that's the end of this video.